with them? Do you want their business card or their email or phone number so that you guys can further connect and maybe have lunch or have a coffee some other time? Are you looking for an opportunity? Does that person work at a company or know somebody else that can offer you another opportunity? So you want to make sure that your elevator pitch is able to be given in less than 30 seconds and should include your name and your current role, your key professional achievement or goal that you're looking to achieve, and what you're looking for: advice, connection, and opportunity. So we'll give a couple of minutes for you all to write this elevator pitch down. And then I'm going to ask for volunteers, maybe 2 or 3 people to volunteer and share their elevator pitch with us by raising their hand. And we will hear their elevator pitch and give a bit of feedback. So go ahead and take some time. Maybe let's give about 3 to 5 minutes to go ahead and write our elevator pitches. Someone has asked, do you want your grades to be flawless? PhD, MSc, thesis, paper? No. It oh, okay, that's something else. I'm already learning. Thank you, Udem. Should we give a little bit more time for writing of the elevator pitches? I see a few are coming into the chat, which is great because we can use those as part of the examples. Maybe let's give it one more minute and we'll start. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and start? I see that we had a couple of people put their elevator pitches in the chat. So I can start with Asa's who writes, hello, I am Asa Agrofi. Please, Asa, I'm so sorry if I am reading the name incorrectly. I'm a student and social media manager. So right then and there, she starts by letting us know who she is, her name. She's a student and social media manager. I got a super nice internship in one of Ghana's best universities as a researcher. She lists her achievement. She's doing an internship right now as a researcher in Ghana, one of Ghana's best universities. I am aspiring to be a girls' education activist and also to be a global youth speaker. So I want an advice on how to start the process to become one, and also how I can be more confident, especially with public speaking. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Asa. So, from what you've mentioned, like I said before, you gave a great introduction as well as you were very clear in giving a professional. Sorry, I'm hearing I'm hearing a lot of noise.
Host, you can mute. Oh, yes.
Okay. So yes, Asa was very clear about who she was. I would say, it would be good. I got a super nice internship in one of Ghana's best universities as a researcher. I would say maybe to make the elevator pitch stronger, I would even name the university, right? Because you never know. That might be the person that you're going up that elevator with, or the person that you're speaking to might be an alumni or might have a child or somebody who is close to that university. And it's another point of connection, right? So don't be afraid to speak. So, what the name of the university is. I got a super nice internship in so and so university as a researcher, where she speaks about her professional goals. She shares two goals with us, or excuse me, she shares what two things that she's looking for. She wants to get advice on how to start the process of being a girls' education activist. And she also mentioned that she wants to be a global youth speaker and she wants advice on how to become more confident in public speaking. Those are great advices, right? Those are great things to ask for. Hey, I want to, be to be more confident when I speak to people, or I want to understand how to become a girls' education activist. But I will say, if you were to ask somebody, right, hey, I want advice on how to become a better public speaker, or I want advice on how to become a girls' education activist, do you think that that person can give you that advice in 30 seconds while going up the elevator? it might take a little bit longer than the amount of time that you have. So it's always important to have a call to action or to ask something that when the person has an opportunity to fulfill within that 30 seconds. So maybe you might word the question this way. Hey, I'd like to maybe have a coffee with you in the next couple of weeks or so, because I would really like to get some advice from you how to become a more confident public speaker. I've seen that you're really confident in speaking in public, and I'd like to just understand how you're able to do this. Or maybe the person that you're speaking to is somebody who's a girls' education activist. Maybe you say something like, I really appreciated the work that you did for Global Partners in Education. Maybe that's who you're speaking to. Can I have your card? I'd really want to understand what your journey has been to becoming this global youth activist in girls education. It gives that person the opportunity to say yes to you and to open to the door to what's next, right? So it's a strong elevator pitch, and it could be made stronger by utilizing those type of tips. I'll read the next one, which is from Mansa Williams. She says, Hi, I'm Mansa Williams, a lawyer passionate about shaping Africa's future through law, policy, and innovation. I lead the ESG department at the African Legal Associates, where I help clients navigate sustainability, governance, and compliance in ways that align with both impact and profitability. Whether it's legal structure or stakeholder engagement, I bring clarity and purpose to every project. If you're working on anything in the ESG space, I'd love to be a part of the conversation. Once again, very, very strong opening. She tells us who she is. She also is extremely specific in explaining that what her work is in the law profession. She's not just a lawyer, but she specifies that her particular brand of law that she practices has to do with policy and innovation, and she shares where she's currently working. She's leading the ESG, which usually stands for environmental, social, and governance, building those sort of frameworks out. She leads she leads that at her firm, Africa Legal Associates, and she supports clients right through that work in compliance. Her call to action, she offers in her call to action, she actually is giving an offer. So she's telling us whether we're looking for somebody who can understand legal structures or we're looking for people in the stakeholder engagement world, she is an expert. So she positions herself as an expert in the field and gives an opportunity for us to not only continue to connect, right? If we're looking for anything like that, but she's also offering her services. So the person, there's a twofold call to action right there. The person can either utilize her services. So maybe that person has a need for her law services, or that person is maybe having an event, a webinar or something that Mansa can be a part of the conversation. She opens that off. I would once again ask for another, like an ask that could be done within the time allotted, which is going up an elevator, right? Because maybe that person does want to include Mansa as part of the conversation, but they haven't exchanged any sort of contact information. And that person can be like, yeah, great, Mansa, I'll keep that in mind. But how do they get in touch with Mansa in the future? Always try to make sure when you're using or when you're adding your call to action, you leave some way where the person can contact you again, whether that's your LinkedIn. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Here's my card. Right now, a lot of people have iPhones, for instance. You can easily bump your iPhone with another person's iPhone, and you can have your contacts be shared right then and there. But making sure that you have a way for that person to contact you again. I see that Mansa has added it to hers. Here's my card, offering the card. So you always want to leave and make sure that that is a part of your call to action, a way for someone to contact you again. I'll do one last one and then we'll move on. And this is from Blessing. Blessing writes, "Hello, I'm Blessing Chuku, an executive virtual assistant and mentorship coach, founder of the TVA brand. I'm building Her Wealth and Wisdom, a community for ambitious women who really take charge of their money and create lives they love. My main focus right now is connecting with people who get excited about empowering women financially and building supportive communities. If this sounds like you, I'd love to connect after this. Let's connect on LinkedIn." This is great. She introduces herself very clearly. She talks about what she does. She also shares a career milestone, but make sure that she shares that this is something that she's building out and she's looking for support to build this out. So sharing her career milestone is connected to her call to action and her ask, right? And she talks about the fact that she's really looking for people to support her on this journey. She's looking to connect with people who are excited about women thriving financially and empowering women to thrive financially. And she asks for a specific way to connect afterwards, which is on LinkedIn. So you want to remember these things when you're in an opportunity where you have to give an elevator pitch or give a quick introduction. I don't want you guys to think that this can only ever happen in an elevator. It's called an elevator pitch, but this can happen in any space. And it's just basically an introduction. But when it has those three elements, it gives a way for people to further connect with you again and to have a more meaningful networking interaction. Does that make sense? Maybe thumbs up if that makes sense. Let's use our reaction. Just if you know, if this is sounding very clear to you guys, it's a way for me. You please, let's use the react button so I know that we're on the same page and that we can communicate with each other. Perfect. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Wadem. Thank you, Blessing. Great, and Turkson. All right. Thank you so much, guys. So we'll move back into the slides. And I know that we've shared some of our networking, our elevator pitches, and our approach to networks, but I want to hear from you all. Obviously, we're doing this workshop because maybe that we might have encountered some challenges or there's specific barriers that we might have that has made networking not so easy for us in this space. I'd like to hear, and I'd like to see in the chat, what have been some barriers to networking that you might have faced in trying to network with people? Please take time to write a bit on the chat. Share some of those challenges or some of those barriers that you might have faced. It could be anything. Someone is sharing having conversation starters, or having or conversation starters or entry points to actually network with people. Yes, that can be a barrier. What do you say? What do you say when you walk up to somebody, right? How do you spark the conversation with a stranger? It can be very awkward. What are some other barriers or challenges that you might have faced in networking? What about finding the people to network with, right? That could be a challenge. Let's see a few more. Are there any more barriers in the chat? Lack of confidence. Exactly. That can be a huge one, right? If you're not confident, how do you, um, you know, meet somebody new? as well as social anxiety. I think we all get those feelings, that butterfly in the stomach feeling to walk up to somebody. Another one is a language barrier. This can be a huge challenge in networking, facing not being able to communicate in the same language as people. Or even someone writes, Catherine writes, finding like-minded people to network with has been difficult. Maybe you live in a very small community and there's not a lot of people or like-minded people. Being new to a community and not knowing where to find the relevant events can pose a huge challenge. Timothy writes that he's shy, and so he always prefers people approaching him first. So what happens, when someone is not engaging you first, or you do engage them and they don't respond in the way that you would have liked, can leave you feeling bad. These are all very, very, very realistic barriers and realistic challenges to networking. Um, I'll add this last one, which is limited self-awareness. So let's go through some of these challenges. Someone writes that, I don't have the time, or one of the challenges being I don't have the time to build relationships properly. Not having the time can also be connected to, feeling like maybe you don't have the like-minded people as well, or it's hard to find the right people. A solution for this could be to start small. And when we say start small, setting small networking goals for yourself, something like, oh, I want to reach out to one new person every week. If you don't have the time to build this huge network, try to break down the work into smaller pieces, right? Little by little, your network would grow. Networking is a compounding skill, because when you meet somebody, and if you meet somebody else, the first person you meet just doesn't disappear, right? We compound our network. And your network grows organically if you build it little by little without necessarily feeling super overwhelmed. Someone said, oh, I'm having trouble finding like-minded people, or someone saying that, there might be new to a community, they don't know where to find in-person events. The other barriers, I find online networking awkward, right? Because I would say, if you have found it a challenge meeting people in real life, we can look at ways you can network online. But what if online networking is kind of awkward for you? There's so many ways to go around that. Try to make it personal. So using customized messages. When you reach out to someone online, obviously there's all of these AI tools now that have these pre-typed messages or pre-drafted messages that you can send people. But try to use the opportunity, especially when meeting somebody online, to make the conversation personal, right? Use customized, thoughtful messages when sending messages to a person and connecting online. Mention something specific. It's very easy when you're going online to find somebody, or you're looking to connect with somebody online. Do a quick Google search of that person. Find something that's specific about them. Maybe they just dropped a book. Maybe they did something very big, something about them that you see online, and put that in your message. People like talking to people that they like, right? And it's easy to make people feel like you're connected to them, or you like them, if you're sharing things about them that's already out there. It's a good entry point. I don't know how to maintain the connections after the first meeting. Maybe you've met somebody and now what next, right? It's always important. I mentioned this before. Networking is a compounding skill. And the only way that it compounds is if you continue to follow up and pour into the relationships and maintain the connections that you've already met beyond the first meeting. So follow up with purpose. Send thank you notes, thank you messages. When you meet somebody in person for the first time and you got their contact, don't allow your phone or your inbox or your Instagram to be where that person's contact goes to die. Send a thank you, send a follow up, share something interesting. Maybe you have an article that's interesting to you and you want to share it with that person, and it's a way for you guys to both further connect. If you guys are in the same field, say something like, "Hey, did you see that article that was published on so and so journal about this topic? Check it out if you haven't read it already." I think it kind of speaks to what we were talking about at the event. These little touches keep the conversation warm and they allow the relationship to grow. Let's say you live in a remote village, right? Like someone mentioned, I'm new to my community, or I don't have people to network in. I am so far from all the networking opportunities. And that is where digital networking becomes so important, because we live in this global village now, right? You're in Accra, many of you are in Accra, some of you are in other cities. I'm in Freetown, Sierra Leone, but yet here we are having this webinar with over 30 people, almost 40 people in the webinar right now. And so we already know that digital tools are helpful and help to bridge the networking gap. So use these platforms like WhatsApp, like LinkedIn, like Instagram. Use these networks to go ahead and build upon your social network and pour into the relationships that you're creating. Some people might also feel like a challenge is, I'm new in my career, I'm young, I don't have the kind of career experience to approach people. But guess what? That is what networking is all about. If you don't have all of the experience, this is your opportunity to network so you can gain some of that experience. And you do that by leading with curiosity instead of experience. Make sure people see that you're eager, open, and willing to learn, right? Ask thoughtful questions and show genuine interest so that people give you that opportunity to grow in your career. Maybe you're worried that you'll come across as annoying or pushy, and that's okay. Try not to become intimidated. Don't think about networking as something that, as you meet someone and you're going to gain something from them right away. Focus on really building the relationship, and the relationship builds over time, right? Building the relationship and building a relationship authentically wins over selling somebody or trying to oversell yourself. I'm afraid of being rejected or ignored. My first answer to that is, get that thought out of your mind, first of all. I always say the worst a rejection or an ignorance is simply a no. And not everybody is going to say yes to you. A no is a perfectly acceptable answer, and it's one answer that leads you towards your next yes, right? Because not every connection is going to stick. Not every connection is going to be your award-winning connection or lead you to your next opportunity. And that's okay. I want to continue to reiterate, networking is a compounding skill. Focus on consistency, focus on making the right connections. And obviously, if you focus on that, the right ones will respond and you will be able to make those connections stick and be fruitful for you. Maybe you just don't like being in these kind of spaces. You're not a webinar person. You're not an in-person networking person. You're shy, as someone mentioned in the chat. You have anxiety and you're not good at being in those spaces. That's okay. Your perspective is still valuable. Making sure that you bring your diverse voice to the table and add to the richness in any space is just as important, right? Own your own unique background. Make sure that you use your story and your insights and what makes you you. Make sure you bring that to the table. The great thing about the world is that we are not the same, and all of our differences are what brings uniqueness, challenges, or color to the world that we live in. So don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be rejected. it's all a part of the game and it's all a part of learning. I can tell you, as somebody who's networked in so many spaces, not everyone has been a yes. I've met my dream people, and yes, maybe they've even given me their numbers, they've given me their emails. And then when I go to contact them, it doesn't necessarily um, um, result in something fruitful. But that one contact might have led to another contact that did lead to something fruitful. So that all of those no's are bringing you closer and closer to your next yes. And you have to have that open mind when you're networking. Next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about in-person networking strategies, being confident, having that elevator pitch to speak to somebody in person, diversifying and leading with your unique story. But like I mentioned, we are living in a digital and global village. We're in Accra, we're in Nigeria, we're in Freetown, we're in the States, we're in New York, we're in all of these different places. But this little phone and our computers allow us to be closer than we've ever been with each other, right? So I want to talk to us about using digital strategies to support us. And there's so many kinds of digital strategies that we can use, right? There's LinkedIn. There's ways that we can optimize our profiles, build connections online, and start conversations online. There's ways that we can join online communities. So all of these online communities like LinkedIn, they have built-in communities that are specifically built on topics, on schools of thought, like LinkedIn groups, Twitter Spaces, or Slack, so that people who are like-minded professionals can connect and build more meaningful connections. There's also networking etiquette in these virtual spaces. What are the best ways to approach building your digital network, right? How do we actually engage in these virtual events and network working opportunities? When you're on a webinar call like this, how do you stand out and how do you network effectively? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're gonna start by doing a little activity so that we can get a little bit more familiar and comfortable with digital networking. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, previous slide. I didn't realize that, sorry. So, excuse me, guys. So we're gonna go through a little activity together, and let's just maybe start by putting a character in our mind. We're gonna call her Adama. So I want us to explore digital networking strategies by maybe sharing a common networking scenario that even some of you guys have mentioned in the chat. Um, and I'm gonna ask some questions to sort of figure out what would be next steps for our character that we've created, right? Because we're going to create an effective professional digital networking and in-person networking plan for our character. So we'll call her Adama. Adama is a 22-year-old woman who has been studying computer science at university. She wants to build a career in technology, but she's not quite sure where to start. Obviously, she's a college student, so she started by getting her degree, but she knows that networking is the key to her success. And she's just a little bit unsure on how to approach networking, especially online. So we're going to give some advice to Adama on how to network effectively on LinkedIn. And the reason why I'm sharing LinkedIn, guys, is because LinkedIn is a professional social media network. Each of these social media networks obviously are built with networking in mind. That's why they're called social networks, social media networks. But LinkedIn is specifically for career and professional development. And so that's why I want to use LinkedIn as a case study. LinkedIn is where a lot of professional connections happen and where people also go to look for jobs, to look for opportunities. And so I want to use LinkedIn because I think that everybody should have a solid LinkedIn. And I'm going to show you, if you don't have a LinkedIn already, things that you can add to your LinkedIn or things that you should do to optimize your LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and click on the LinkedIn page. And I'm going to start by showing Michelle's LinkedIn. Can we project her LinkedIn profile as a start, please? So we'll
Sorry,
get,
one moment. I'm just
okay.
trying to get it back.
All right. Thank you. So I am using Michelle's LinkedIn profile because there's some key things that Michelle has as part of her profile that are important to optimize your own LinkedIn profile and makes it easier for you to network online and network on this platform with others. The first thing, obviously, I want to highlight is Michelle's profile picture. As you can see, she has a very clear headshot. Um, this is a headshot is a picture of your face. You should be facing the camera directly. You shouldn't have any sort of things that disrupt the face, like sunglasses. Obviously, if you wear um, reading glasses or seeing glasses, those are fine. But you want to make sure that you're looking directly at the camera or you're positioned, and the frame of the camera is gives your head a little bit of a headroom, and it's just right under the shoulders or the neckline. That is what you can use as a professional picture. Obviously, you don't need to go to a photo studio or anything like that to go and do that. A simple way to do that is to make sure when you're taking your picture, you take it behind a solid background. You see that Michelle has used a red backdrop on hers. You can use white, you can use whatever makes you stand out the most. But you want to be very clear and concise with your profile picture. Additionally, Michelle lists her name as well as what she does, and she breaks that down. She's a global communication specialist. She uses lines to sort of break down the different work trajectories that she does. So she does sustainability, public relations, and project management. She has that all there. She puts her location. It's important to put where you're located because opportunities come sometimes based on location. You want to highlight, I know that we, like I mentioned, we do live in a global village, but just by her putting that she's based in Kenya, maybe people are reaching out to her to get public relations specialists who are in Kenya. And by having those key pieces of information right at the header, right at the top, helps people to connect with her easily. Scrolling down, she also has a very clear about section. This about section sort of follows, um, highlighting where she is in her career, what stage she is in her career, what her expertise is, telling her a little bit more about herself. You can also maybe add some few personal, when I say personal, not deeply personal, but it can be like maybe you're somebody that runs an organization outside of your professional capacity, or you run a girls group in your community. and you would like to have that in your about section, that's a great place to put that. But you want people to sort of have a feel of who you are in those top two sections. The next section is a featured section, and this is the place to share your work or to share your musings, your thoughts, career insights, industry insights. Michelle has shared posts that she has posted, things, conferences that she's attended, she's been on panels. She makes posts on that, and as you can see, almost all of her posts have engagement. So they've been liked by 91 people, 75 people. They have comments, making sure that these posts highlight her work. She tags people. So within these posts, you can see that she's tagged other people who are on LinkedIn. That's another networking point, right? Because she's highlighting that she's building a network within her industry of people who are interested in the same things or people that she works with within these posts. She adds pictures so that she adds pictures so that they're clear, like evidence. She's sharing pictures of her sharing the stage, her on the mic, and this is a way to continue to build your network because people can share their reactions, comments. Michelle can then comment or reply. People can share and amplify Michelle's work to a larger network, and that increases and helps to build your compounding network. Can we go back to her profile? Michelle also amplifies other people's work. So as you can see, Victoria made a post, Michelle reposted it and added her own thoughts on this. Victoria writes about, what she's doing. She tags Michelle, and then Michelle then reposts and amplifies Victoria's work. This is what we talk about when I say it's not just about what people can do for you, it's also about how you can also amplify other people and support other people. Networking is not a one-way street. Networking is you also supporting others, right? That's how you strengthen your network. So the fact that Michelle is amplifying others' posts, making comments on other people's posts, sharing their work, also goes to strengthen her own network. Let's go back to her page and scroll down a little bit. Obviously, she writes about her experience. So currently, she's the global communication manager at Water and Sanitation for Urban Populations. She mentions what she's doing there. She lists chronologically all of the other. She lists chronologically all of the other experiences that she has had. She talks a little bit about that, and she highlights key skills that she's gotten from each experience. For instance, from her current role, she's got a lot of experience in donor communication, cross-cultural communication, and 4 other skills. Highlighting those skills are important when people are looking for people on LinkedIn with those skill sets, because let's say that someone is looking to hire somebody that has cross-cultural communications as a skill set. When they search and Michelle's name comes up, they're able to look at Michelle's profile and see where she's picked up those skills. Maybe people have endorsed her for those skills, which I'll show you further down. But as you can see, these sort of help to build a complete professional profile of who Michelle is, what she's done, and how people can maybe network with her effectively. Let's scroll down a bit. She talks about her education. She lists, where she's gone to school. She also adds licenses and professional certifications. So if you scroll down under education, she highlights that she's gotten certain professional certifications beyond her education, her formal education, that add to her experience and her work trajectory. Scrolling down, she also talks about where she volunteers. Volunteering is a very important part of your professional profile. Many people think that just because you don't get paid for something, or you're volunteering, that it doesn't or it doesn't sit high or weight high as your career or career profile or your career highlight, right? Volunteering experience, internships, personal projects that you do count just as much. You might not be for instance, you might not be in a field that does a lot of social media or highlights your social media experience, but maybe you've been able to build your own social media following to over 10,000 followers. That's something that you can use to highlight on your LinkedIn profile. Highlight it either in your posts, when you make your posts, highlight that on your volunteer experience, but showcase that somewhere. As you can see, Michelle adds her skill sets. So she lists all of the skills, whether that be donor communication, cross-cultural communications, and she lists where she's been able to pick up some of those experiences from. And then a little bit further down, which is a very important very important category on LinkedIn, is recommendations. And as you can see, she's both received and given recommendations. So these recommendations are where people can vouch for you, right? David has said that, hey, he's worked with Michelle and she's excellent with corporate communication. She's a corporate communication strategist who, thinks on her feet. He's had experiences. He's worked on the same team with her. He lists that out. Max talks about the experiences that he's had with her. Over 4 people have given Michelle a recommendation. That shows positively to people on LinkedIn that, hey, she's trustworthy. They can go ahead and see what David does. He's the head of communications at Diageo Africa. That's a pretty big position. And he's giving basically a stamp of approval, or he's giving a bill of confidence for Michelle and her work, her professional work, to people who might be checking out her profile and people who don't know Michelle. The other thing, the way LinkedIn works, I don't know if you see this on everybody, but you'll see things that it says second or third. So I mentioned this before, this 6 degrees of separation. Second or third connection. So a first connection is somebody that you're immediately connected to. A second connection is maybe you're connected by a few people, or you guys might have maybe a school in common or professional contacts in common. They're closer to you than maybe a third level connection, which is a little bit further out from you, right? So if I'm seeing that, hey, on my page, David is a secondary connection. So me and David have some sort of connection, and he's also recommending Michelle, who maybe I don't have any idea. I can reach out to David and say, hey, David, I see you recommended Michelle for so and so. I was looking to reach out to her about this particular project, and I see that you recommended her for her corporate communications. Can you maybe speak to this a little bit more, right? LinkedIn leaves basically a trail for people to see and for people to deepen their networks. And one of the ways that they're able to do that effectively is through recommendations. But I will say, as much as people are receiving, you want to be on the receiving end of recommendations, you also want to give recommendations as well. Is there somebody that you've connected with on LinkedIn that you've worked with? Go ahead and write something about that person. And if you write something about them, they'll be more open to even leaving you a recommendation. And it helps to further deepen your network. It helps to strengthen your professional profile on this digital network. and to enrich the types of networks and the types of connections you can make, right? Michelle shows that she's been published and she shows her publications. And then further down, she speaks a little bit more about her interests, companies that she follows, groups that she might be a part of. Can you click the groups tab, please? So this is another important part of utilizing LinkedIn, and that is groups. Basically, groups are specific networks of people that have come together around specific topics, right? So Michelle, she's in public relations, so she's joined the International Public Relations Association. The reason why she's joined this group is because, there's over 16,000 people, but these are all people that are specifically interested in public relations. Just right then and there, if she goes into that group and she connects with people, she already knows there's a baseline level of interest that she has with these people. So when you're looking on LinkedIn and you're looking to strengthen your LinkedIn profile, you want to be able to make sure that you have these various categories filled in so that people can get as full of a profile, full of an understanding of your profile as possible. When you're using and navigating LinkedIn, you also want to identify people that you can follow, right? So using groups is one way. You can do that by using the search bar up at the top, and you can search and identify. Maybe you want to look for mentors and you want to find people who are in your field that can be a mentor to you. So you can do that by searching using the search bar and maybe type a topic. For instance, if you are somebody that's interested in artificial intelligence, type in artificial intelligence at the top. And when you search artificial intelligence, I'll you'll see from people. So if you want to maybe look mentors that are in the artificial intelligence um, um, field, you can search, and maybe you want to look at people who are first connections, so people that you have immediate connections with. If that doesn't work, you can look at second. Obviously, the person whose LinkedIn we're using, maybe they're not into artificial intelligence and they might not have a lot of first connections, right, around that. But you can utilize the search tool to find people, to find jobs, to find groups that have to do with topics that you're interested in. The third thing you want to do is when you've searched and found people, is you want to send thoughtful connection requests. So let's say you've searched artificial intelligence and you found two people that you really want to connect with. Don't just send them a request. So let's go back to the let's stick to this topic, artificial intelligence, and let's search people. All right. So you've seen that Michael Walden, he is somebody who is, click on his name. All right. So you've seen Michael Walden, and maybe you want to connect with Michael. Scroll down a little bit on his profile. You can see all of his services. Go down to his activity. Scroll down a little bit more. All right. So what I would do is I would maybe look at Michael's activity. I see that Michael commented on some articles, or he's made posts. He's reposted some articles that are pertinent in the field. So what I'll do is I'll maybe read what his posts have been about, read some of his comments, and when I'm going to write Michael, or when I'm going to ask Michael for a connection, instead of just sending an empty connection, what I'd do is I'll send a thoughtful connection request. I'll say, hey, Michael, how are you? My name is Adenike Hamilton. I'm also interested in artificial intelligence. I see that you're, a major player in the artificial intelligence world. You're currently working here. I particularly liked your comments that you made on Zara Idrasi's post. So find something unique to that person and use that when you're making an introduction, right? Send a more thoughtful request. Thoughtful requests have a higher chance of getting a response than just random connections. Highlight how, you want to make sure that when you're starting the conversation, you start by building something genuine, and you build this, and you're pouring into the connection from the very beginning, so that it's easy to continue to fulfill and to continue to nurture and grow that professional relationship. Additionally, when you're searching, use LinkedIn groups. I mentioned before, when you're going back to our original search, which is artificial intelligence, you can use that same search to look for groups, people who already are interested in what you're talking about. Look for groups that maybe are close to your geographical area. There's artificial intelligence groups for tech startup CEOs. Maybe you're looking to connect with other people who are running startups. Maybe you wanna learn about artificial intelligence in politics. There's so many groups. Search groups that have to do with the things that you're looking to connect with, you're looking to have more deeper conversations about, and join those groups and participate. When you join a group, introduce yourself. Don't just show up to the group. Interact with the group. Create an introduction. Maybe talk about a project that you're working with. Connect with people in the group. Make comments on articles that people that have already shared within a group, and participate. Networking gives you an output of as much as you input into the networking opportunity. So as much as you pour into the opportunity is as much as you're going to be able to take out of the opportunity. And lastly, when you're using networking, follow up with connections. So let's say you've connected with somebody, they've added you. Don't let that be the last point of contact. Follow up, and follow up in a respectful way, right? Ask questions, ask for advice, ask for guidance. Utilize the connections more than just the add button, because the more you deepen these sort of connections with people, the more you'll be able to then, when the time comes, ask for a favor. And I'm seeing on the chat some questions. Yes, you can definitely network with me on LinkedIn. I've typed in my name, so you can just search Adenike Hamilton on LinkedIn and you will be able to network with me there. And building confidence, I will say the answer to that question is practice. Practice makes perfect. You're not going to be able to build confidence, by not trying. One of the ways you can build confidence is what I'm going to talk about next, which is building a networking plan. So let's go back to our slides. We can use what is called a networking plan to start building confidence. And what a networking plan is just basically breaking down your personal goals and setting long and short-term goals in a plan in which to make that happen for yourself, or how to achieve that. You can set goals. For instance, let's say you want to build confidence and you want to be a more adept networker. Well, start by saying, hey, every month I want to connect with 5 new people. You create that as part of your networking plan. I want to make 5 new networks, or I want to add 5 new people to my network every month. And in order to do that, maybe I want to do that by meeting 2 people in person and 3 people online. All right, so how can you meet these 5 new people? Well, guess what? I want to do that by going to events. Maybe you'll identify both some virtual events and in-person events that you can attend. And when you attend those events, you keep in the back of your mind that your goal for this month is to meet 5 new people and to network and build strong professional relationships with them. Identify those events, go to those events, meet those people, follow up, as we mentioned before, right? Scheduling those follow up activities after you've met those people, whether that's sending a thank you note, whether that's scheduling coffee with them. Maybe you want to schedule a Zoom call with that person. Schedule follow up activities. Next slide, please. So that after you've met a person, that you're not just letting the connection die out. Build a solid plan for yourself so that you can target your specific networking goals. Maybe your networking goal is you want to eventually meet the head of your department at your university, and you might need to meet 3 or 4 different people in order to get to that person. Create your plan that allows you to do that. Next slide, please. And the reason why we're talking about networking and all of this is because networking is a part of social capital. So you might have heard of financial capital. Maybe you've heard the fact that money makes the world go round, but there's something else, right? Social capital refers to connections amongst individuals, social networks, and the norms of reciprocity and trustworthiness that arise from them. So when we think about wealth, it's not just about the financial wealth we have. Social wealth is another aspect of wealth. Like I mentioned before, not just about what you know or how much you have, but also who you know. Sometimes people open doors for you that money and know-how will never open for you, right? And that's what social capital is. Next slide, please. So social capital really is just that value of your relationships, how you value your relationships. It's the trust, it's the goodwill, it's the mutual respect that you have for people, and how you are building with people. Many of you guys might know this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's where the power of relationships comes in, right? Social capital is what you're gaining from people when you meet them, what people are gaining from you when they meet you, because it's not just a one-way street. It's your network of contacts. It's the relationships that you've built with your peers, your mentors, your community, people who can open doors for you, people who can offer advice or connect you to other opportunities. That is the power of relationships. And when you have built these relationships, it also opens up doors of trust and mutual support. So it's not just that fact that you know people. What what does knowing people build for you? Are you building trust? Are you building goodwill with these people? Can you rely on them after you've already met them and you've started to build these relationships? The stronger the trust, the more people are willing to help you and share information or collaborate with you or offer opportunities. So trust building and mutual support. So not just you or not just them helping you, but you also lending support to them also opens and builds that trust, and it strengthens your social capital. And when your social capital is strong and your social networks are strong, it also provides you access to opportunities you might not even be getting on your own, right? Because people share things with people in their network, from jobs, partnerships, insider knowledge, opportunities. If I don't know you, what are the chances that I'm going to share those opportunities with you? If I haven't built trust with you, what are the chances that I'm going to share opportunities when they arise with you? Probably not, right? So these access to opportunities happen when you've built your social capital, when you've built the trust with people, and people are supporting you to open doors for you because your network and has vouched for you, and they're sharing the right opportunities at the right time with you because the trust is there. So, like financial capital, social capital compounds. I've mentioned this throughout this call. The more you invest in relationships, helping others, staying connected, supporting, following up, the more you value, you're going to gain in return from those relationships. That's just how investments work. The more you pour in, the more you get out. It's an asset that you grow, just like how you would grow your stock portfolio or how you would grow your financial portfolio. That's the same way you'll grow your social capital and grow your social network, right? So really, your social capital is, increasing your social capital allows you to navigate new industries and international spaces. The more people you know, the more people you can build trust with, the wider your network opens up new industries to you, right? It opens up the kind of mentors and the wealth of mentors and sponsors that you can have. You can have more valuable mentors when you've increased your social capital. Also allows you to build communities that support and lift you up as you grow. The more social capital you have, the deeper your communities are, and the further you can the further heights you can grow into, just by having a strong social capital. So one thing you want to do is you want to be focused on adding value. I can't stress this enough. Don't approach networking as a purely extractive exercise. You need to be pouring into your networks as much as you're getting out of them. Next slide, please. So I want to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions. I want people to kind of give questions or comments about what they've learned today. And yeah, let's do a little bit of a Q&A. If there's anything that wasn't clear for you, please let me know so that I can expand on it. We have a little bit of time. Are there any questions? Feel free to either raise your hand or by using the reactions or write it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Blessing. I'm glad that you were able to learn how to write an excellent elevator pitch. I hope that you will practice, practice, practice. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Blessing, for participating. Thank you. Sharing. Yes, Modem says that or they are going to learn how to enhance their LinkedIn page. Please, if you have not, take time to do an inventory of your LinkedIn. Mansa as well, saying that they don't do a lot with LinkedIn. I can't stress this enough. When I moved back to Sierra Leone, um, I I didn't grow up here. I didn't live here. The first few opportunities that I got were just from connecting with people on LinkedIn and people reaching out to me on LinkedIn. People can be reaching out to you for opportunities and you wouldn't even know. But if your profile is not enhanced or it's not optimized, they might not know what to actually reach out to you for. Thank you, Timothy. It's a nice idea to keep on texting a person even when they're not replying at all because you want to know them. So I would say be tactful. So the question is it a good idea to keep texting a person even when they're not replying at all because you want to know them? I would give it a rule of three and then be the judge if you would want to continue. I would say three thoughtful messages. If they haven't responded to three thoughtful messages, then maybe just, move on, and maybe give it some time and then come back to the person. But I would always make three attempts. Thank you, Linda. Linda has learned how to build a strong LinkedIn profile. So Benedicta is asking that they're a student and they do not have any work experience about or a job. They use their career portfolio as a starter for LinkedIn? Yes, even if you haven't worked, there are places LinkedIn allows you to add, for instance, relevant coursework. If there's anything that you've studied at school that is important to highlight, you can add that on your LinkedIn. And you can also write on your LinkedIn bio that you are a new graduate or you are a student looking to gain experience. Um, Please don't think that LinkedIn is just if you have work experience. I had a LinkedIn before I had my first job, and my LinkedIn helped me get my first job. So if you're a student, you can still use LinkedIn. In fact, you can use LinkedIn to join groups of other students who might just be getting ready to graduate. You can use LinkedIn to join groups that are in your field of study and network with people within those groups. Um, you can use LinkedIn to connect with people who are in your field and network with them, right? So even if you don't have work experience, LinkedIn is still a very valuable tool for you, as other social media networks are as well. Thank you. Thank you for saying that this is a great presentation. I'm really glad that you were able to benefit from it with them. Um, Especially love the LinkedIn navigation aspect. Yeah, so if anybody else needs any tips on LinkedIn, please let me know. Please, can the recording be shared to us for future reference? Yes, I do believe that the recording is taking place right now, and I'm sure the Drive to Inspire Africa team will be able to share it with everybody. Is it possible to create a chat room that can help to get us all connected? I'm glad you mentioned that, Timothy. I think that is going to be shared with next steps. I love every bit of the presentation. I've learned that you're limitless no matter where you find yourself. Yes, that is a key one. Thank you, Mabel. There's always a way up, right? If you're in this space now, there is a way to grow, and we can always use certain tools at our disposal to grow. The two truths and the lie. Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Drive to Inspire team. So I'm going to pass it back to the team because they're going to share information on how to access the workshop recording, as well as be connected to the mentorship group where you can stay connected, and a post-event survey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hello.
Hi, would you like me to step in on this?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Can you please share where they'll be able to get the workshop recording, as well as the post-event survey and the
okay.
chat?
Okay, thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar. I think it's been great. I've learned a few things as well. Um, and yes, so the recording will be made available. I believe we have all participants' email addresses. And we're going to send out a post-event survey, which will take you just under 2 minutes to complete. So I'll put that in the chat. And please, if you could fill out the survey, it will really help us in in developing the next webinar because we want to make it as informative, as helpful, as impactful as possible. So you can give us some ideas on what we should talk about in the next webinar. You can even make suggestions on the next speaker. Yes, and then someone mentioned about a networking group. We'll send all of this information to your emails. Thank you so much, Niké, for delivering this amazing webinar. I think it's going to be really, really impactful for the participants. And I really hope that we can continue the relationship with you and Drive to Inspire. Um, Thank you, everyone. I'll hand over now to Anna
Um,
or them.
thank
Oh, we're
you, thank
there
you, thank
to
you,
close
Thank
us
you.
out.
Antoinette.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you so much, Adenike, for facilitating this session. But just before we conclude, there's just a few takeaways from today's session. We know that networking is important. It's important in personal growth and career growth. And some impactful things or some things to remember is that you should always include a CTA in your elevator speech, a call to action, like what Miss Mansa Williams did, and always try to make sure that you leave a contact information in your CTA because you don't want to leave that connection or that network opportunity hanging. And when you do follow up, send a thank you note, share interesting articles, interact with them on social media. These gestures keep the connection warm and will allow your relationship to grow. Um, Also, join online communities, observe networking etiquette. That's very important when you are joining these online communities. And also build a networking plan, which means that you typically set a target, the number of people to meet and connect with per month. Then she also took us through social capital, why it's important. Social capital is important because it is an effective tool for what trust building, a mutual support in our social networks. And when your social networks are strong, it might give you access to opportunities you typically will not get on your own because people support their community. And social capital compounds. So, the more you invest, the more you pour into your relationships, the more you get out of them. And increasing your social capital will open you up to a wealth of mentors and sponsors, which is why we are here today. And thank you all so much for joining. Please follow us on all social media handles: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Drive to Inspire Africa. We will have more webinars throughout the quarter. So be sure to check your inboxes when you get the notification from Drive to Inspire Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Wadem.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've put the link for the post webinar survey. So please, before I end the chat, if everyone could click on the Google form and fill that out, that would be really helpful. And feel free to leave once you have the link. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.